welcome to another episode of The Right Track. Today I have Debbi Dachinger, and she's going to be telling us all about what she does. She has some pretty amazing projects. She runs multiple companies. She's got probably a lot of really cool advice and stuff to tell us. So Debbi, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. It's so great to be here.
Yes. And look at how glam she is. Oh my gosh. I love the outfit. Love the look.
It's everything, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely.
I think art is also in what we wear.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's a big expression, so I'm all about it.
Yeah, I love that. Well,
Ta-da.
I figured that out at some point. So tell me a little bit about who you are and what you do.
So, yeah, I have a foot in a couple of very creative worlds, but creative is the operative word in this. As far as media visibility and my coaching, I help people to write books, to write a highly engaging book so their book will stand out. I also have a company that takes books to a guaranteed international bestseller. And the third leg of my visibility expertise is that I help people to get interviewed. I'm not a publicist, but I show them the system so independently they can do this on their own and they can rock it. And about a year ago, it just came full circle after a very long time of not singing. I had not sung for 13 years because I was in radio, I was in podcasts, I had this show, I was coaching, and that was my life, and it's been awesome, and it still is. And yet, music peered at me again and said, do you remember me? Because I remember you, and I kind of miss hanging out. And it was crazy, and I said it out loud. I was in a group, and somebody was kind enough to walk up to me and say, Debbi, music never leaves. Go do it. Mm-hmm. And my boyfriend, God bless him, he also had not played his guitar for a very long time. And the very next month, he took out his guitar and started playing. And he invited me to sing with him. And we literally started just like trying out songs, checking out like, oh, this would be fun, going after some very like healing vibe music. We call it music is medicine. And we started playing, and a month later, we were doing our first gig.
That's amazing how quickly. Yeah. I feel like that is always the case with music. When there's a good marriage, right, between two people creatively, things go quicker than they would when you're, for example, writing a song. The good ones always come quickly, don't they? And then the ones that you take forever to write sometimes aren't your best work. So I like that it came together so quickly. And you've been working with Rob now for a year?
It'll be a year, believe it or not. It's this month, a year. Yeah.
Wow, yeah.
That we just picked everything up. Yeah, and we've gotten booked every single month since.
Great.
1, 2, 3 gigs. It depends.
Any gigs worth mentioning? Anything that was kind of cool?
Oh, yeah. I mean, well, each one has been unique. We performed for plant medicine ceremonies. That's very unique.
Plant medicine ceremonies?
Yeah. So
like the ganja.
Like ayahuasca and that sort of thing in San Pedro. And so it's extremely unique because, you're mostly in the dark. And, if this is okay to say in your podcast, we also have to drink. They don't allow even the performers, somebody's going to be literally helping guide participants through an experience musically. Wow. It's a lot of responsibility, So we take it seriously. And then, we've done festivals. Last month we were in Arizona, and somebody did this contact in the desert, which is, this woman she brings people from all around the world, and she helps them experience UFO contact and so forth. And they invited us to come open every night. And it was magnificent. We're out in this beautiful cliff in the middle of the desert, with the stars, performing. We hadn't done anything quite like that in the dark with, just sort of like crazy lights on us. We were the only thing lit up.
Wow.
And somebody was filming television, like a TV show there, and we became part of it. And parties, we've done parties. I will tell you, we'll mostly take any gig that comes our way. Yeah. Because we're building. We're working,
I got to tap on, okay, how do you contact the extraterrestrial contact? Can you tell me a bit about that? I know it's a super tangent, but what?
Yeah, this woman's incredible. And So she does this workshop during the day, and then at night is the contact work. And she has a particular way. Everybody sits around in the chairs, and she guides people through a meditation and to help people to contact, through your heart and soul. And we saw things, and this is very new for me, this whole space. And I saw things, and I was like, because I was always the eye roller. I was.
Yeah.
I'll admit it.
Was there ayahuasca involved in
this? No, this is completely
okay.
not that at all.
Okay.
No, this is a real retreat, out at this gorgeous ranch in Arizona.
Uh-huh.
And no drugs involved whatsoever, completely sober, and an amazing experience. But yes, I saw spacecraft. I did, and it was mind-blowing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, how cool. So I feel like your genre of music lends itself to these kinds of cool retreats, right? Healing, UFOs, sure, right? Anything else?
Yeah, and today there's so much to tap into. There's festivals for everything. There's ecstatic dance, and there's Desert Act, and I could go on and on. There's so many festivals that we can get involved in as performers. And so we're on a couple of lists. We find out what's going on, and if something is appealing and we're a right fit, we'll throw our name in the hat. Fortunately, I know people because of what I do and because of where I've traveled. So sometimes we'll write to the people and say, hey, we know so-and-so is one of your big speakers. That helps.
Yeah.
But always they say, give us your links. We want to check you out. And so you have to have something to bring people to so they can see if they want to hire you for their event.
Yeah.
But yeah,
what do you send people? You must have your signature song that you want them to hear first, right?
We've got our YouTube channel. We've got our website. Both of those function very well. People can tootle around and see what they want. And as far as the signature, a lot of it depends on what the event is. I'm all about catering to an event.
Right, that makes sense.
Yeah, so if it's going to be something that is in a particular space, I'm going to send them a song that will absolutely lend itself to that event.
Okay, that's cool. And it's just the two of you, right?
Yeah, but we have a lot of people contract with us, and we love jamming. We do that. We just did it 2 nights ago.
Oh, fun.
Went to somebody we just met. This guy's really talented, movie producer. We hung out at his house, and he had 1 million instruments, and we just started jamming. And that for me is great.
Yeah.
We know people play violin and whatever instrument. We actually want people to come play with us.
And what instruments do you play personally?
Oh, girl.
You're like, how much time do you have?
I was so good when I was a kid. I was an amazing violin player, and I gave it up at 16.
Oh.
To sing and to be social and all of that. And I do regret it. And then later on, I started playing guitar, and I was decent, never a great guitar player. And I really can't play violin anymore, but Rob bought me this beautiful electric violin. So I've recently been calling around and asking some people, what do lessons look like?
Yeah,
so I can start again, because I think it'd be fun on one of our songs, and many of our songs, there's ample opportunity for a violin solo. God, I'd love to just whip out that electric violin and just play something beautiful.
I've seen some really cool videos of people who are playing it, and it's just the electric violin. Amazing. Just what can be done and how beautiful it sounds. And also, just based on your YouTube channel, it sounds like you have some percussion skills as well.
That I do. Thank you for mentioning that. I'll take it, because that's pretty new for me. I always dreamed, I always thought it'd be cool to be a drummer, very cool instrument. Yeah. And I have this opportunity, djembe drum, that I use a lot. And I just ordered this gorgeous handmade artistic shaman drum that's being shipped here from Russia.
Ooh.
And I cannot wait. I got a 22-inch vegan shaman drum with this gorgeous tree of life mantra. They call it a yantra, actually. It's supposed to be a healing symbol. That was a new word for me, but a yantra. And so, so it has energy to it.
What does it look like? It's like a tree?
So it's truly a giant drum, right, that you hold in the back, and it makes this gorgeous just this almost drone sound when you drum it.
Mm-hmm.
And it actually is a tuning key.
Okay.
So we can change it to what we play. If we play a lot in the key of E, or, A and so forth.
That's convenient.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as I, did all my research, so I had to know it had a gorgeous sound first, because our first drum died on us. I didn't know drums could go dead, but the sound could actually go dead.
Okay. And
so I Googled that and I soaked it in water and got the sound back, but it kept dying, and that was an animal skin. So we went vegan this time, and we've got that. We've got a hang drum coming. We've got a tank drum, a wooden drum, and all that's, it's very new for me to tap into that.
Well, as long as you have a sense of rhythm, it should be easy-ish, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure there's definitely percussion skills, right, that you could develop, but I saw you with like kind of it's like a small little drum with feathers. Maybe you were playing it. I don't know. It sounded really good.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a little tricky, I think, sometimes singing and playing. If I were to be honest, I have to be pretty mindful because there's different things going on there.
Well, that's great. So it sounds like you've got some fun instruments coming your way, and so this project is going to grow and just get better and better. It sounds like that's exciting. Do you ever play gigs in LA? Yeah,
absolutely. We've done parties, we've done events in LA, 100%. Yeah.
Like, where could I see you if I wanted to come to a show?
Well, we don't have anything planned right now, but I could put you on the list.
Yes, put me on the list. I'd love to see that. That's really cool. And did you have vocal training growing up?
Oh, yes. Yeah, way more than the instruments. So that was my thing. I grew up in an incredibly musical family, and I was a singer from the time I was very little. And that's what I did pretty much my whole life. Musical theater, and I parlayed that into going to USC. I graduated from dramatic arts, and I went out in the world, and that's what I did. I acted and I sang for most of my life until I got into radio and podcasts. And right there at the end, when I was backing away from the performance, from the theater stuff, I was experimenting. So I had a gig in front of a big band, and that was really new music for me. And that was beautiful because everybody loves to hire a big band. So we were very hireable. And also I did jazz, and I found a whole new love there. Like, again, that spontaneous, letting stuff go, not knowing what's coming. There's something so delicious about that space for me, that freedom. And when I got into radio, I was so pulled. I had just so much time, and I thought, who am I going to be? Like, I have to make a choice. Where is my heart going to go here? And the radio and the writing books, it was all so new and fabulous that I just dove. Yeah. And I said to my band, I'm sorry, but I have to give you notice. And, I had no regrets. I just was so happy. And now, full circle, doing this, it's like, I never sang music like this either. We do a lot of cover songs. We even do Imagine, John Lennon, and Richie Blackmore, Blackmore's Night, Under a Violet Moon, and lots of stuff. Mambo Italiano, like, it depends on the event, but...
Mad World.
Mad World.
Yeah, I heard that one.
Exactly.
Well, so tell me a little bit about radio and your career in radio.
Started out right here in Burbank at a radio station, and it was an indie radio station.
Did you apply as a radio personality with a particular show, or were you actually putting songs in rotation? What did you do there? Yeah,
great question, because it's exactly, I started out with a music show, and my whole thinking was just to get my voice out there more. I was looking for that. So I got a gig doing a music show, and I was trying to make it very interesting. And so I'd pick a genre, and then I'd find out funky information that nobody would know. It was total trivia. And so it made it very interesting for me. But, a couple of months in, I was sitting there going, I'm not really sure what I'm doing here. I know I got this job because I felt called to get this job, but I'm not really clear. And it was so perfect because just around that time, the folks who ran the station pulled me in for a talk and said, look, we like what you're doing. We like the personality. We want to give you a full show. why don't you go home and think about it? And what would you talk about if it was a talk show? And I went home and it was like a download. And I just said, man, I'm all about making dreams come true. That's my thing. So I want to call it Dare to Dream. And I just want to talk to people who are doing these huge things out in the world, very successful, but very transformational. You know, really, I wanted to learn. I have a really curious mind, and I wanted to pick people's brain for free. And so I thought I could do this on the radio. And it was very successful. You know, I was getting great numbers, every country and around the world. And then this podcast thing came along and I started doing that as well. And I'm still doing it 14 years later.
Yeah. So you're still in radio and you also do podcasting then?
Yeah, syndicated, yeah.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this. I know a lot of indie artists who would love to get their songs on the radio, and it's like nearly impossible. I find that the good, popular radio stations, and I've heard this from a guy who did used to work in radio, if you don't have $100,000, they're not going to spin your song. They won't play it. Is that true? I mean, how does an indie artist get their song on the radio? Do you have any advice for sending in, submitting songs to radio?
In fact, I'm going to give you a URL right now to send your songs to for free.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Go to bbsradio.com. I know they accept indie music, and I know they play indie music. So I would say, rather than, if you're starting out, rather than going to something mainstream that is going to be prohibitive, and you don't want to be discouraged, because that's, in the art world, there's a lot of that.
Yeah.
Pay to play, right? And so I would say there's so much online radio and podcasting, like major sites, and just start finding out the ones that are taking music, because they are. And they have a dashboard where you can just submit for free.
Yeah. Well, these are online stations. I mean, what about the normal FM stations that you would tune into in your car?
Yeah, I would think it would be very difficult, because it's difficult enough for the top artists to keep spinning what they're doing. I would really think if you're not known, you would have to have some kind of crazy, really good publicist and really good mad talent to get recognized. But, I would say people are doing so many interesting things these days to get recognized. YouTube is huge.
Yeah.
You've got artists who are there for free, just doing their thing, and then they get discovered. We're constantly discovering people, even to help with the vibe of what we're doing and connecting with them. So I would say YouTube's tremendous. Just use the social media platforms, and maybe instead of doing an Instagram live, where you're talking, go ahead and sing or play, and just let people know you exist, because you don't know who's out there listening.
Right, exactly. Do you do that too? Do you do Instagram lives?
I'm going to.
Nice.
That's now that a lot of things have died down and we're focusing more on getting our website done. We're learning new songs. We're really using this time. Yeah, that's exactly what I want to do.
Yeah.
And I also pre-booked all my podcast shows through the end of the year, because I just want them all in the can so they can roll out each week. And I want to use that time definitely to start using social media and connecting.
Yeah. So the podcast is not on YouTube, right? It's just audio?
Yeah, my podcast is.
Right, okay. And do you use, because I upload these episodes also to Anchor.
Yeah, sure.
And then it gets
there as well.
Distributed. I think that's really cool. Now with digital distribution, you can do it with music and a podcast. You get to one site and then they distribute it to all the platforms, which is really nice and very convenient. But at the same time, it definitely creates clutter, right? Because there's so many people doing podcasts, so many people doing YouTube shows that, like, how would you advise someone to stand out?
Oh, wow. Truth, right? That is so true. It's very noisy out there. Everybody and their brother now needs a podcast. And the good news is they don't all last. People start doing it, they're like, oh, this is work. This is not like as glam as it looks. Yeah. It's fabulous if you're curious. It's fabulous if you've got a niche and a subject, right? That'll keep you going. So I would say if you want to stand out, have a theme Be very specific. If you're broad, nobody knows what they're getting, and it's not of import. But if they know that you're talking about music, specifically about music, if they know you're talking about UFOs and extraterrestrials, if they know you're talking about gardening or cooking or, you know, whatever the subject du jour is, just stick with that. And then I would say, you know, it's really important to remember the audience tunes in for you, right? So you want fabulous guests if that's your choice to have guests, but you have to be really the main event. You have to be the coolest cat on the block, because that's who every week everyone's going to tune into.
And how often do you release yours? Every week?
Now, yes, every single week.
Okay, awesome. Dare to dream. And what kind of content do you cover? I mean, you're interviewing people, right?
Yeah, it's really transformational. And I go where my curiosity is. Right now, you know, if you go, it's kind of interesting what's on there, but it's, you know, there's people who channel and it's pretty divine, the information they share. And there's people who are in the UFO extraterrestrial world. There are people who are shamanistic. You know, I call it the number one transformation conversation, because without a doubt, I mean, people post a lot of cool comments and people like, oh my God, I just got so much out of that. Here's the takeaway. That's what I want. I want people to tune in and be able to get something, get a morsel they couldn't get anywhere else, and that they go out and they implement into their lives, or they have to talk about it with people. That turns me on.
Well, you're saying, you know, have a niche. If you could just label your niche, what would it be called?
Yeah, I would say transformation. I'm definitely in the spirituality genre.
Okay. Spiritual.
Not religious, but spiritual.
Yeah. That's really cool.
It's my jam.
How do you have time for all this stuff? Podcast and band and coaching, like, seems like you're a busy woman.
I know. People say that, and I will say that it's not. I have beautiful time for myself. I wouldn't have it any other way. Just everything has a life force. Like my book coaching, for instance, I've got a group and we meet twice a month. And I guide them through the process. And as some of them finish and publish their books, new people come into the group. So that's very, you know, beautiful and simple. I get very connected with my students. I love them. And then I get private clients who come aboard and say, no, I just want to work with you. I want to get this out. And I've got teams. So as far as like the bestseller program, for instance, there's no way I could do that by myself. So I've got a big machine behind me that creates that. And I've got an assistant that I work with, and she's amazing. And then we rehearse at night.
Yeah. So you're fitting it all in and you still have time for yourself. Yeah. That's really good. I wanted to ask you about booking festivals. I know that there's probably some people watching who are going, how would I even, let's say I have a band or a duo or whatever, they have an act. How would I go about booking a festival? What are the steps? My guess is first Googling the ones that seem like they fit your genre, your brand, whatever. And then looking possibly for the right person to submit the music to. Is that how that works?
I would say I would actually start with talking to people.
Okay.
Just putting it out there in your social media. And I would also put something together, whatever, if you want to do a text chain or whatever is easy. But I would ask people in your tribe and even outside of your tribe, what kind of festivals are coming up? What do you know about? Have them send you links.
Okay.
And start there. Almost always at these festivals, there's a dashboard, and you can go before the festival happens, when they're putting it together and they're getting the speakers and the exhibits, and they will have something about the acts. They will have something about the music. And then they have you fill out an online form. And it's so important to know the vibe. If they have done it before, I would say check out the event. Usually there's videos you can watch.
Right. Get
even if it's a trailer.
It.
Because, like, for instance, here's one that we were so not right for. There was a festival coming up, and on paper, like, everything looked incredible, and the headliners that were speaking there were amazing, and we were psyched. And so they invited us to submit ourselves, and I was so grateful that I checked it out, because everything was DJ this and DJ that. Now, I know the kind of music that these DJs were going to play. It wasn't electronic music, some of it, but mostly it's like these amazing people. I don't know if you know tuba singers. You know what that is? The guttural singing.
Oh.
Originally from Siberia.
Ooh.
Oh my God, it's stunning. But there are people out there who got this whole electronic thing, plus these drums, everything's computerized, and they do that. And I mean, this is a big act. And what I realized was, we're not right for this festival. We're going to be like, I'm going to feel like two hippies playing on a stage somewhere. And that's not at all, that doesn't represent us. Mm-hmm. So that was good. It was good to know.
So you did not end up doing that festival?
It was not a right fit.
Pulled the plug before you did the whole show and felt awkward on stage. I
guess. And they probably would not have invited us, actually, because these are big lights and music and sound and all of that dancing. And the other ones that we have, it's just been a beautiful fit. So the research was there, and we're on enough lists. We know enough people. And I will say this, I'm way more reticent as a performer. I just love performing. I love doing my thing. That's really my sweet spot. Rob is a go-getter, and he is awesome. As soon as he hears about something, he'll say, hey, we can come play. Do you need us to come play? Here's a couple of links. He just puts it out there. So if that's a resource for anybody, I am telling you to be that bold and throw it down. I would say 9 times out of 10 or 10 times out of 10, he gets a yes and he books us.
Yeah.
Just doing that.
That's great to have a partner that's like that.
He's super bold.
Yeah, that's great. Everyone wishes they had someone even in their band that was like the pusher, the go-getter, the person that gets all the stuff. We envy that.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, so where's Rob tonight?
He's probably playing guitar. He's practicing.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Do you have a gig lined up before the end of the year, or are you taking a break?
No, what we do have is, and I'm really excited about this, we have a friend who, he's making this very interesting mark right now in electronic music.
Ooh.
And he's super talented. And we've known him for like 6 months. And we met while we were playing music. So that was beautiful how we connected. So we are getting together with him in 2 weeks. We're renting an Airbnb. And we're going to sequester ourselves for a full weekend. And the goal is to write a song, to come out with a song. So he's going to invite some people who are really talented. We're going to be there with our instruments, and
that sounds fun.
That thrills me, the whole idea, because I've wanted my own material so much to add to the mix.
Yeah. Where's this Airbnb?
I think we're going to
Joshua Tree or somewhere cool.
That's crazy you would say that. That's exactly where it's going to be.
It was just my first thought. I'm like, that the desert moment. Or something. Yeah, right? Well, that's amazing. I mean, I can't wait to see all this new stuff that you're going to come up with. I want to hear this song. I bet you guys will come up with something cool.
Yeah, we've laid down tracks with him before. He's come up with like a Middle Eastern beat, which is also very new for me. And then he gets Rob in the studio, and Rob just, riffs with what he's hearing. And then he got me in the studio and just asked me to sing. And I mean, stuff's coming out of me like.
So when you write vocals, do you have a process, or is it just different every single time? For example, some singers, they sort of riff on melodies first before they add lyrics. Or some singers have to have lyrics. They have to have a concept before they can even start writing melodies. Like, do you have a specific process, or do you just let things kind of come as they come?
Yeah. I feel like I'm in both camps almost separate. So there's the part of me that sings very independently, that I can hear music. I mean, I've even listened to Estes Tun. If I don't know if you know who he is. He's an amazing guitarist, brilliant man who was born in Russia and lived in Israel, well worth checking out. And he's magnificent. And I've listened to his stuff just at home and started singing to see what will come out of me. So that has a life force of its own that's very real. And I want to continue to go way more into that. The writing is interesting because I have a brother in the music business. And so in the past, I just relied on him. and I would write the poems, because poem is in my background, and I'd hand it off to him and he'd do the music. I've actually never done the music. So if somebody does, I am looking for that. I know this weekend we'll create something, and going forward, I feel as we call and pull people in, we'll have more of that. But I have lots of poems and, lyrics that I'm ready to turn into something.
That's great. And then maybe once you start getting into writing the melodies, it's like maybe it'll be a floodgate that opens, and then next thing you know, you've got amazing ideas that you never knew you had.
It's fun. There's this one tune that I started working on that is I just wanted to do something that would inspire people. And it's called I Trust the Wisdom of My Body. And there's just lines like that. There's maybe 8 lines repeated, and that's to electronic music. And there's something so powerful about it. It's like listening to an affirmation or a mantra. And I played it for a couple of people, and they're like, okay, what is that? Let's do something with that. So there's a lot of excitement for me in this space, this new creation, new sounds, new lyrics, new music.
Yeah, and shows all the time, which is great.
Yeah.
Well, don't worry, we will drop all the links that you have below the video so that people can follow you and like your stuff and check it out, of course. And of course, the question that I ask everybody is, what advice would you give to upcoming singer-songwriters, upcoming musicians, as to maybe how to find their space, to how to find their niche, maybe?
To find their niche. It's what calls your heart, right? I really think this is very representative of me. And I would imagine that most people, I don't care if it's opera, I don't care if it's jazz, or if it's musicals, or if it's rock and roll or punk or this or that, but something calls to you, it has a passion and a mission, and you would surround yourself with it even if you weren't getting paid for it. So do that. Let your soul express itself there. And then the other thing I would say is say yes to everything, because you just do not know who you're going to meet, who's going to be there. It may look like a free gig, but it turns out to be somebody's got a paid gig who's listening to you and had no idea you did that. Things beget other things,
True.
Shows beget other opportunities. And so I'd say do it a lot, say yes, go where you love to go. And, give your gift away, because it'll come back.
Right. Well, that's great advice. I love that. And I'm wishing you a ton of success. And I actually really do like your sound. I really was enjoying just taking a tour of your YouTube and everything like that. So I have no doubt that, you guys are going to come up with something really good in Joshua Tree and in the next year. So I'll be following you too.
Yes, thank you. I really appreciate my time with you.
Yeah, me too. Thanks for sharing your wisdom and your story with us. Anything else you want to say?
Yeah, I
tell people about upcoming things, or?
Yeah, absolutely. If, our website, which is actually just being rebuilt, but by the time this goes out, it will be rebuilt. Go to lionsoflyra.com. It's Lions of Lyra.com. And you can sign up there, and we don't cream anybody with anything, but if there's a gig or an event, we'll absolutely let you know. And then also YouTube, Lions of Lyra, same. And we just throw snippets of stuff up there as we experiment and have fun. It's fun, it's funky, and leave a comment, right? Subscribe, like us. We'll love you back.
Yeah. Well, guys, Debbi, everyone, like her stuff. Go ahead and follow her and check out this band. I'm telling you, it's amazing. It's very, very soothing and very beautiful. And then, obviously, we'll see you next time on The Right Track.